over 100 of Russia's most advanced T-90M tanks, the pride of Moscow's armored forces, now lie in ruins across eastern Ukraine, reduced to burning wrecks in a matter of days. What was meant to be a decisive armored breakthrough instead collapsed into a tank graveyard, leaving military experts stunned and raising serious questions about Russia's battlefield doctrine. The T-90M, built to withstand Western weapons like javelins and NLAWs, was promoted as nearly unbeatable. Yet, on the open fields of Donetsk, these $4 million machines were outmatched by cheap FPV drones, hidden mines, and layered defenses that turned raw power into vulnerability. The scale of the losses is alarming. Verified counts show over 1,159 Russian tanks destroyed by September 2025, including at least 123 T-90Ms. Drones alone are responsible for up to 70% of these vehicle losses in key sectors, a statistic that signals a dramatic shift in modern warfare. A single $200 drone taking out a tank worth millions shows how the balance of cost and power is being rewritten in real time. For those of you fascinated by weapons and battles, this is more than just a military clash. It's a warning sign that heavy armor, once seen as the backbone of ground warfare, may no longer guarantee victory. The real question now hangs in the air. Can heavy tanks adapt and survive in the drone age? Or has modern war entered a new chapter where low-cost technology dominates the battlefield? Russia launched a massive assault in Donetsk, deploying their advanced T-90M tanks alongside BMPs, APCs, and mechanized infantry, aiming to smash through Ukraine's defenses and seize key strategic points. In late September 2025, Moscow's commanders rolled out these powerful machines, hoping to turn the tide after years of setbacks in the region. This wasn't a random strike, it was a calculated push, building on earlier failed campaigns, with Russia banking on sheer mechanical might to overwhelm their opponents. The T-90M, equipped with modern reactive armor and fire control systems, was meant to lead the charge, supported by BMP infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers carrying over a dozen soldiers each. Russian planners believed this combination could punch through any obstacle, securing vital positions like those near Kupiansk, a critical hub for supply lines. Yet Moscow's confidence wasn't just about hardware. It was fueled by bold claims from their own media, which praised the T-90M as nearly invincible, designed to shrug off advanced Western weapons like Javelin and NLAW missiles. Russian outlets like TASS highlighted the tank's thick armor and electronic countermeasures, portraying it as a game-changer that could survive the fiercest anti-tank systems. They showcased tests where T-90Ms endured simulated missile strikes, suggesting they could dominate modern battlefields. This propaganda painted a picture of unstoppable power, rallying domestic support and intimidating foes, but it masked a deeper flaw in Russia's approach. Despite the hype, Russia's strategy clung to an outdated Soviet playbook: send heavy tanks to break the line, then let infantry sweep in to hold ground. This tactic, rooted in Cold War doctrine, relied on overwhelming numbers rather than precise intelligence or adaptability. Columns of T-90Ms, often moving in predictable patterns, aimed to crush resistance through brute force, with BMPs and APCs providing cover for troops to exploit gaps. In one instance, a Russian column near Donetsk included over 20 vehicles, expecting to overrun Ukrainian positions in a single surge. But this approach ignored the realities of today's battlefield, where technology and preparation often trump raw strength. Western experts quickly spotted this weakness, warning that Russia was repeating costly mistakes from earlier campaigns in 2022 and 2023. Analysts from think tanks like the Center for Strategic and International Studies noted that Moscow's reliance on massed armor, without robust reconnaissance or counter-drone measures, left them vulnerable to Ukraine's evolving tactics. A 2025 BBC report highlighted how Russian commanders underestimated Ukraine's ability to adapt, assuming their numerical advantage would be enough to secure victory. This overconfidence set the stage for a brutal reality check, as Ukraine had already prepared a deadly response. The numbers tell a stark story. Russia has lost over 22,000 pieces of equipment since the war began, with tanks like the T-90M making up a significant portion, according to Oryx's verified data. In 2025 alone, Moscow pushed hundreds of armored vehicles into Donetsk, hoping to shift the momentum, but each failed assault only added to the tally of wrecks. How could such a powerful force misjudge their enemy so badly? To understand why this offensive fell apart, let's turn to Ukraine's cunning preparations, which turned Donetsk into a trap for Russia's finest armor. Ukraine turned Donetsk into a deadly trap for Russia's advancing forces, using a smart, multi-layered defense system that combined constant surveillance, hidden explosives, and powerful Western-supplied weapons. Their strategy started with reconnaissance drones, buzzing tirelessly over the battlefield, mapping every possible approach route to create a detailed plan for striking enemy columns. These unmanned aerial vehicles, operating around the clock, fed real-time data to commanders, ensuring no Russian move went unnoticed. Ukraine's forces used high-resolution footage to pinpoint tank formations near Kupiansk, allowing them to prepare precise counterattacks long before the enemy arrived. Beyond the skies, Ukraine's engineers had secretly planted anti-tank mines across key paths, turning open ground into a hidden death zone. These mines, often 3D printed for quick deployment, were carefully concealed, with some strikes later shared in videos by Ukraine's military to showcase their devastating impact. One such video showed a mine obliterating a Russian vehicle, its blast sending shockwaves that halted an entire column. Adding to this, Ukraine positioned advanced anti-tank weapons like Javelin and NLAW missiles at strategic points, ready to lock onto any armored target. These systems, known for their fire-and-forget technology, allowed soldiers to hit tanks from kilometers away, crippling even the toughest armor. Precision artillery, including modern howitzers, was also preset to rain shells on advancing forces, guided by drone intelligence to maximize damage. Ukraine's gunners used coordinates from UAVs to target a Russian convoy in Donetsk, destroying multiple vehicles before they could reach the front line. To bolster this setup, Western-supplied tanks like Leopard 2, Abrams, and Bradley vehicles stood ready as a mobile reserve, poised to counterattack when needed. Units like the 47th Mechanized Brigade relied on these machines, with Bradley's rapid-fire cannons proving deadly against lighter Russian armor in recent clashes. This combination of drones, mines, missiles, and artillery created a seamless web, turning every Russian advance into a target-rich environment. Unlike traditional defenses that rely on static lines, Ukraine's approach was dynamic, blending technology with careful planning to outsmart a larger foe. The layered system meant that even if one element failed, others would compensate, ensuring no gap could be exploited. If a tank dodged a mine, a Javelin operator could still take it out, or artillery could finish the job. This setup wasn't improvised. It was the result of months of preparation, with Ukraine's military adapting lessons from earlier battles to refine their tactics. By September 2025, their defenses had become so effective that Russia lost over 22,000 pieces of equipment, including hundreds of tanks, according to Oryx's verified counts. Drones alone accounted for 60 to 70% of Russian vehicle losses in some sectors, a testament to Ukraine's technological edge, as reported by the Royal United Services Institute in August 2025. This multi-layered strategy didn't just hold the line, it turned Donetsk into a graveyard for Russia's ambitions, punishing their reliance on brute force. Which part of this defense, drones, mines, or missiles, do you think is the real game changer? Now, let's see how this trap sprang into action, shredding Russia's first wave of tanks and troops in a matter of minutes. Ukraine's layered defenses sprang into action, obliterating Russia's initial assault with a deadly combination of drones, mines, and the fierce counterattacks of the 47th Mechanized Brigade. As Russian forces rolled into Donetsk, a T-90M tank led the charge, firing rounds at Ukrainian positions, but a first-person view drone swooped down, slamming into its turret with pinpoint accuracy. The strike ignited the tank's ammunition, creating a massive fireball that lit up the battlefield, leaving the advanced machine a smoking ruin. Moments later, another T-90M pushed forward, aiming to regain momentum, yet it rolled over a hidden mine, triggering an explosion so powerful it tore the vehicle apart. The blast scattered debris across the field, and the crew had no chance of survival, marking another costly loss for Moscow's armored spearhead. Then, a Russian armored personnel carrier, loaded with over a dozen soldiers, attempted to retreat after deploying troops, but it hit a concealed mine, erupting in a catastrophic blast. This destruction, confirmed by daily battlefield reports, wiped out the entire crew, crippling Russia's ability to support their infantry push. The 47th Mechanized Brigade seized the moment, launching a counterattack with Bradley fighting vehicles, whose rapid-fire cannons shredded enemy trenches and bunkers. Drones assisted, targeting Russian soldiers as they scattered, ensuring no safe retreat through the war-torn landscape. The chaos left Russian troops rattled. One soldier, isolated and out of options, threw down his weapon and surrendered to Ukrainian forces. Ukraine's swift response wasn't just about firepower. It was a masterclass in coordination, blending drone strikes with ground assaults to maximize impact. Each move was calculated, with the 47th Brigade exploiting the confusion caused by mine explosions and aerial attacks to dominate the fight. This early victory cost Russia dearly, with Oryx reporting over 1,159 tanks lost by September 2025, including dozens of T-90Ms in similar failed assaults. The psychological toll was equally brutal. Russian troops, watching their lead tanks burn, faced a sinking morale that made each step forward feel like a gamble. Ukraine's ability to turn an aggressive push into a disaster showed how technology and tactics could outmatch sheer numbers. If you're amazed by how drones and Bradleys flipped the script on Russia's tanks, drop a like and comment below. Which weapon do you think stole the show in this fight? With Russia's first wave in ruins, let's explore how Moscow tried to hit back with air power, only to face the same deadly traps. Russia ramped up their assault with airstrikes and helicopters to weaken Ukraine's defenses, but their efforts crashed against the same relentless traps, piling up more losses in a cycle of failure. After their initial armored push collapsed, Moscow shifted tactics, unleashing glide bombs from warplanes to soften Ukrainian positions before sending in fresh columns. These precision-guided munitions, dropped from high altitudes, aimed to blast through fortified lines, targeting bunkers and command posts in Donetsk. Attack helicopters, armed with rockets, swooped in to support tanks, hoping to clear paths for ground forces by hitting defensive strongpoints. Yet these choppers often became easy targets, as Ukraine's air defenses, including portable missile systems, locked onto them from miles away. Subsequent waves of armored vehicles, including BMPs and APCs, rolled forward, expecting air cover to ease their advance, but they met familiar obstacles. Hidden mines detonated under their tracks, ripping apart hulls, while FPV drones dove from above, striking with deadly accuracy. In one instance, a convoy of 5 vehicles near Donetsk hit a minefield, with 2 exploding instantly and the rest pinned down by drone attacks. Ukraine's strategy stayed sharp. They waited for Russia to commit forces, then struck hard, preserving their own troops while maximizing enemy losses. This wait-and-strike approach relied on patience, letting Russian units overextend before hitting them with coordinated firepower. Commanders used real-time drone feeds to track movements, ensuring artillery and missiles landed exactly when vehicles were most vulnerable. This tactic avoided direct confrontations, keeping Ukrainian casualties low while grinding down Moscow's resources. The pattern was clear. The more forces Russia poured in, the heavier their defeats, creating a vicious cycle of tactical missteps. This relentless defense exposed Russia's inability to adapt, as their air and ground efforts failed to break through Ukraine's carefully planned barriers. The psychological blow was massive. Russian pilots and crews, expecting to dominate, faced constant threats from unseen drones and missiles, shaking their confidence. Ukraine's ability to counter air power with ground-based systems showed a shift in warfare, where even advanced aircraft struggled against agile, tech-driven defenses. With their tanks and planes failing, Russia turned to a desperate new tactic, hoping speed could succeed where strength could not. Russia turned to quad bikes and off-road motorcycles, hoping their speed would break through Ukraine's defenses, but relentless drone strikes crushed this desperate tactic, leaving entire units in ruins. With their tanks and airstrikes failing, Moscow's commanders rolled out a bold new plan, deploying fast-moving bikes to dodge mines and slip past fortified lines. These lightweight vehicles, loaded with soldiers and anti-tank weapons, aimed to outmaneuver Ukraine's traps by racing through Donetsk's rugged terrain. The idea was simple: move too quickly for drones to track, hit key positions, and disrupt Ukrainian control before heavier forces followed. Yet, Ukraine's reconnaissance drones, hovering high above, spotted the bikes' dust trails from miles away, locking onto their movements with chilling precision. FPV drones, agile and armed with explosives, swooped down, striking the speeding vehicles with devastating accuracy, turning them into fiery wrecks. In one brutal clash near Bahadur in March 2025, Ukraine destroyed 15 motorcycles, killing 40 Russian soldiers in a matter of minutes. Drone footage captured the chaos. Russian troops scrambled for cover, diving under burning bikes or sprinting toward abandoned houses. Some hid in shallow trenches, clutching their weapons, but Ukraine's operators dropped bombs directly onto these shelters, wiping out entire squads. This relentless pursuit left no safe haven. Even those who reached ruined buildings faced cluster munitions that leveled their hiding spots. This tactic wasn't just about firepower. It showed Ukraine's ability to adapt, using cheap technology to neutralize Moscow's desperate innovations. Russia's bike units, meant to be a clever workaround, became easy targets, their speed useless against drones that could adjust in seconds. In another instance, a group of 8 bikes tried zigzagging to avoid detection, but Ukraine's operators tracked them, dropping explosives that left the vehicles twisted and smoldering. Russian soldiers, expecting a swift breakthrough, found themselves exposed, with drones buzzing overhead like inescapable hunters. The wreckage of bikes, scattered across Donetsk's fields, stood as a stark reminder. Modern warfare rewards brains over brawn. This clash showed that even Russia's boldest ideas couldn't pierce Ukraine's layered shield, turning their last-ditch effort into another disaster. With Russia's assaults collapsing, let's wrap up with the bigger picture, exploring what this failure means for Moscow's war machine and the future of battle. The devastating defeat of Russia's T-90M column in Donetsk delivers a brutal lesson. Raw numbers and expensive hardware no longer guarantee victory on the modern battlefield. Ukraine's layered defense, blending cheap drones, hidden mines, precise artillery, and Western-supplied armor like Bradley's, turned Moscow's boldest assault into a catastrophic failure. This wasn't just a tactical setback for Russia. It's a loud warning that their tank-heavy war doctrine, rooted in Soviet-era strategies, is crumbling against today's technology-driven combat. A single FPV drone strike near Kupiansk obliterated a T-90M, proving that a $200 device can crush a $4 million tank. This clash exposed Moscow's vulnerability, shaking their image as an unstoppable force and boosting Ukraine's global support. Yet, the bigger question looms. Will Russia keep burning through T-90, hoping to overwhelm Ukraine's defenses, or will they rewrite their playbook to counter drones and smart tactics? The answer could reshape warfare, as heavy tanks face an uncertain future against agile, tech-savvy foes. If Ukraine sustains NATO aid, like F-16 jets or ATACMS missiles, they might push back harder, forcing Moscow to negotiate. But if Russia escalates with more air power or drones, the war could spill beyond Ukraine, threatening Europe's stability. What do you think? Has the era of heavy tanks ended, or can they adapt to survive the drone age? Drop a comment below and share your take. Let's keep the conversation going. How will this tank graveyard shape the next chapter of modern warfare?